Let's ask a man who may have an opinion or 17 on such matters. Blaine Fowler, Uncle B, football analyst, dual threat analyst, and national champion quarterback at BYU. Blaine, how would you answer today's Twitter question? Which position group are you most confident in?
It's crazy. I'm confident in a lot. So I'm going to take a whole unit. Having watched the defense, and I've been to a lot of practices and all the scrimmages, I'm really excited to watch this defense. I think this is going to be a very good defense. And which is crazy because coming into it, I thought two of the best quarterbacks in the country, two NFL-type guys at quarterback. You got Jamal coming back at running back, which gives them unbelievable depth. They're going to be able to play a lot of two-back because you can put LG at fullback and Jamal or Squally at tailback. The receiving core is solid and deep. You know, my big question was, how's that offensive line going to come along? And I've been really impressed with where they've come from the beginning of spring to now. So before fall camp, I was thinking, man, I'm really excited about this offense. I still am. But I've gone from down 50% confident in the defense to 100% confidence in this defense.
Wow.
Now. I really have been impressed with what they're doing. And they're in the position now where they're going to start taking stuff out. And I talked to Ed Lamb the other day, and Ed said, the first couple weeks of camp, and you do the same thing on offense, but you put a lot of things in just to see if you can do them with the personnel you have. Now, starting Monday, they're going to start to go, okay, we looked at nickel. Maybe we're not going to play as much nickel as we thought because those outside backers can really run and cover, so we don't have to go nickel unless we play a team with certain matchups. We looked at this blitz package, not so great at that, so we're going to take that out. So now they're going to be able to take some things out because they've put everything in, and they're going to hone what they're good at for the next 2 weeks until they play Arizona. I think they've looked really good just with everything in, and so that's impressive. They've looked really, really sharp. So I think that this defense is going to be outstanding this year. And there's going to be some quarterbacks out there from opposing teams that are not going to like the kind of pressure that's going to be coming off the edge.
Brian Logan called Josh Rosen in last year's game, specifically against BYU, Josh Frozen. Can this defense make Josh Rosen Josh Frozen again?
And this is going to be a different kind of pass rush. Instead of a three-man front, there's a four-man front. So there's not as many escape lanes inside. And Kalani and Tuiaki, just the whole defensive staff's mentality is, up front, we're not going to let quarterbacks step up. We're going to have ferocious, speedy guys on the outside. Harvey Longy, you guys have been talking about it, Tao to these guys. But inside, we're going to be bulldozers. And we're going to take two guys, and we're going to say, don't spin move, don't take a gap. You just take that pocket and collapse it right into the quarterback's face. So that when he feels pressure, instead of stepping up like he naturally has been taught to do, he's going to try to escape to the edge. That's why guys like Nate Orchard that you referred to, Shep, for Utah, got so many sacks. They're collapsing the pocket in guys' faces. The only place they feel comfortable escaping is outside, and you got great athletes out there that just run them down.
Mm-hmm.
So if Travis Tuilomo, when he gets healthy, if Logan Taile and these guys, if they're not making a bunch of tackles, they may still be doing a phenomenal job of forcing quarterbacks into those outside guys. And that's what I've seen in a couple weeks of practice. This defense looks impressive.
So what would be your headline coming out of the second scrimmage at LaVell Edwards Stadium yesterday?
So I would say defense stays impressive, but offense takes a step forward. I thought that the offense turned a corner on Tuesday at practice when I was there. And I think they're kind of understanding what they're doing now. The quarterbacks are getting the ball out just a little bit quicker. They're being more patient. They're taking the underneath throws and understanding that this controlled passing game and this balanced attack that Ty wants to run requires patience in reading the defense. And so it was Tuesday I was watching and I thought, okay, this is starting to look like the methodical offense that Ty ran. And then I thought there was an extension of that into Thursday. So for the first, up until Tuesday, I thought the defense had the upper hand. Isn't that always the case, though, guys?
Especially
In
early
camp,
on,
yes.
yeah.
And when you're installing a new offense.
Yeah, so that's the case when you got returning senior quarterbacks with an offense you've been running for a decade. So when you're installing a new defense and a new offense is a lot easier to install. There's less concepts they have to learn, and you just turn the guys loose. Offense takes time, and so the fact that this is a new one, and I really felt like Tuesday, I walked away from practice and I went, okay. I saw light bulbs go on. I saw timing. I saw this thing start to come together, which is exciting because now they got 2 weeks to continue to hone that as well. And so I think by the time they play Arizona, this offense is going to be a patient, well-oiled machine that makes good decisions.
It's interesting that you bring up that you feel like they turned a corner on Tuesday because I talked to Tanner Mangum, and he was the last one on the practice field. That's often the case. He was throwing passes to his brother Madison. and we chatted about the details becoming more clear. And he's very hard on himself. He's like, there were some pre-snap reads and coverages. Like, I was like, okay, you should be here, but I wasn't confident in it. And then after the play was run, my coach looked at me and said, how come you didn't move him over here? And he's like, why didn't I move him over there? You know, so those are the type of things that Tanner is becoming more confident in, and Taysom in the same way. And so when you look at those details and the two quarterbacks, are you seeing any sort of separation between the two?
It's really hard because I keep looking, and really all we're watching is the passing game. And there are times Tanner made a throw on a fade route in the scrimmage to Trinnaman. I was like, wow. I mean, it was beautiful. Just dropped in there. And Jonah, man, can he run? These guys, that's the other thing. Week 1, I saw Tanner and Taysom underthrow Trinnaman about 10 times.
Jonah's a smooth operator.
You got to look outside and go, well, hey, who's out there? Oh, that guy? I just drop back and huck it as far as I can because he's going to run under it. So we're watching them start to adjust to the individual speeds of the receivers, more accurate balls. But I'm seeing it happen for both of them. And so I'm seeing them both progress. I'm seeing them getting more comfortable because Ty's asking them to do a lot more than they've ever had to do in the system. Make the protection call when he comes to the line of scrimmage, the directional call for the protection. They didn't have to do that before. Now, once you've done that, don't just look at – I want you to look at the corner and the safety because now there's routes where, for instance, there's a play they have. If the secondary's in two deep zone, the outside receivers run comeback routes and the tight end kind of settles under in the middle or settles underneath the free safety. Or if it's too deep, they run corners, and he runs down the middle. If it's 3 deep, they run comebacks, and he settles. So the receivers are making adjustments on the fly. So everybody has to be able to read the defense. They didn't ask these quarterbacks to do that last year. So for a while, it looks a little mechanical. And then you start to see them start to look more like they're just reacting.
They're just
like
playing.
They're just playing.
Yeah.
That's what I saw on Tuesday, and that's just going to get better.
We hear so much about we're going to see much more of the quarterbacks under center. When you look at both Tanner and Taysom, how does their footwork and their skill set match up with that?
Really good. They both look like they've played under center. That to me from day one, and that tells you how much work they did in the spring and over the summer, that was impressive. So from day one, they look comfortable under the center. That's not a problem. It's the mental part of it that slowed them down early, and now they're starting to catch up. And they've got 2 more weeks. And these are both. I mean, think about it. You guys have had a lot of interaction with both these guys. They're really, really bright guys. So they're the kind of guys that have been great mentally at BYU in the past. Guys that understand football and are smart and can learn this stuff.
We have to finish with a Big 12 expansion question, Blaine. We'll only ask one.
It's in the contract.
And it's an all-encompassing question. After everything that's been going on, where do you think they stand in that conversation?
I still think they're the number 1 candidate. I think they have been since – so. It's interesting to look at all these national media people that claim to be insiders. Of course, the same guys that said that they weren't going to expand the day before they got a 10-0 vote to explore expansion, right? Now, these guys all of a sudden, now they're really insiders again. So I'm not trusting what I read. These national people that go, well, it's really looking like Houston, Cincinnati, and BYU third. You think that the Big 12, when they came out that first day and outlined the criteria, had not talked over and over and over again about what that criteria would be? And just throw that out there on the way. Hey, and by the way, since I'm here at the microphone, why don't we talk about fan base? Just throw that out.
Academics, athletic ability.
They had a plan for expansion about what the criteria would be. He laid it out. BYU in literally every single category is number 1. That hasn't changed.
Why does it feel like it's slowing down then?
Now, I think that as time goes on, it feels like it's slowing down. I don't know that they're ready to pull the strings, and I think that they've got to decide a lot of things outside of is BYU in or not. I think that that's pretty obvious to most people, right? But it's, do we just go with 12 or do we go with 14? Maybe 10 and 12 or 11 and 12 are pretty obvious, but are 13 and 14 obvious? We need to flesh this thing out, and I don't think the Big 12 wants to make any announcements until they have their whole act together. And so that's what I think is taking time, not on whether or not BYU is a good candidate. I think all the other things are taking time. And we know for a fact, this is a fact because we heard it from multiple people, everyone involved in this process has had to sign a non-disclosure agreement. And so they're keeping a lid on this thing like it's never been kept on a big event before. And so all these people that claim to know what's going on, these schools especially realize that if they don't adhere to that non-disclosure agreement, they could risk their inclusion.
They're jeopardizing their inclusion.
So nobody's talking. And then the people inside of the Big 12 and the Big 12 office, the outsourced attorneys and people that they're working with, they have also signed non-disclosure agreements at the risk of their jobs or their affiliation with the Big 12 in the future. This is the best kept secret that we've seen in a long time. The Big 12 is doing a masterful job of managing the information. And I think that because we're not hearing much, everybody thinks, gosh, this thing is stalled. Things are actively happening behind the scenes. Guys are working on it. I know that Tom Homo and President Worthen have been involved for a long time and continue to be. And who would you want in those rooms more than those two guys right now? I mean, President Worthen, with his background as an attorney, is just the guy as you start talking contracts and negotiations. That's the guy you want in there.
He had the highest GPA in the history of BYU Law School.
Isn't that the guy you want? Isn't he the perfect guy to be president of this university right now with what's going on? He's perfect. That's
yes.
I don't need him to tell me what's going on. I'm just like, President Worthen, go do your thing. This is what you're great at. Go do it. And then Tom Homo, with his experience, his street credibility, he's coached at the pro level. He's coached at the college level. He's at athletic administration. He's played for great teams in college. He's a Super Bowl champion in the pros. He's coached with some of the greats of all time. He's with Bill Walsh. He's been exposed to LaVell Edwards. His credibility in that room is impressive. And we know how Tom is with people, an individual and on a group basis. So, hey, we'll let those two guys do their job. I couldn't pick two better people to be working this behind the scenes than the two guys we have working on this
Jason,
thing.
give that man a fist bump. Blaine Fowler bringing it and wearing a Titleist. He's got to go to a wedding.
I heard no. It isn't about the wedding. I heard Chev was on the show today, and usually when he comes, it's a very formal affair. So I don't know what happened.
And then we dressed down.
I don't know what happened.
We dressed down today.
T-shirts for us and
nice
a
tie.
shirt
Dressed down
and tie
Friday.
for Blaine.
Thank you, guys.
Blaine, thanks for the time, man. Up next.